Hey, what up? Thank you for tuning in. You watching The Pressure Cooker, and I'm your host, Markel. On this show, we just gonna cover a variety of sports topics, not only limited to sports, a lot of things going on in the world we might touch on, but as of right now, we just keeping the sports, talking ball, some boxing, some MMA, and if any of that interests you, you found the right channel, and if not, stay tuned in. You might hear something you like. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. As of now, September 11th, we got Thursday Night Football about to pop off here in a few hours. We got the Commanders taking on the Green Bay Packers at Green Bay. So, should be a real interesting match. We got year two quarterback Jaden Daniels on the road against Jordan Love. I wouldn't say a solidified quarterback, but everybody know he has top tier arm talent. He obviously has the weapons around him as well to be successful. A really good head coach in Matt LaFleur, and should be a very interesting match. Obviously the Packers added Micah Parsons just a few weeks ago to that defense, and I believe that they have a very good chance of making it deep into the NFC playoffs. I don't necessarily believe that they're going to be Super Bowl champions or even make the Super Bowl. We can get into that, but as of right now, we're just covering and breaking down the Thursday night game against the Commanders. The Packers won their Week 1 game against the Detroit Lions. A lot of people had a lot of high hopes for the Detroit Lions, and not that the hopes are gone, but going out there and scoring 13 points after you lose your offensive coordinator to the head coach vacancy in Chicago obviously points to a lack of creativity on offense, because no one wants to go out there and lose, let alone only have one offensive touchdown when you have so many weapons on that offense in Detroit. So the Packers have a different challenge ahead of them when they face the Washington Commanders. They have more consistency with their offensive play calling, as Cliff Kingsbury is still the play caller, and obviously, the Commanders have talent as well. They brought in Deebo Samuels from the San Francisco 49ers, and even the rookie running back they drafted, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, won NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 1. So they have some new talent as well, sprinkled in on their offense. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is the head of the snake, and a head coach like Dan Quinn, defensive minded, but also just a motivator. I think he's going to have the Commanders ready for battle, and I think the Commanders have a really good chance of winning this game. I think some factors in this game is going to be how the Packers utilize Micah Parsons and how they get him more included into the defense. He didn't play a lot of snaps in their Week 1 game. Granted, they didn't need him for the most part. It was a pretty dominant victory, wire to wire, against the Detroit Lions, but a quarterback like this, Jaden Daniels, who is a mover, he can throw, but he can also run, obviously better than Jared Goff. I think Micah Parsons is going to be vital in a game plan like this, containing Jaden Daniels, keeping him into the pocket, and getting to the quarterback and affecting those throws. You got a ball hawk in the secondary in Green Bay with Xavier McKinney. I believe he's a really talented safety, a very underrated safety, and I think Micah Parsons and those guys can get some pressure on Jaden Daniels. You give those guys opportunities to make plays, and obviously give the team a better chance for success. In the case of the Commanders, if you're Jaden Daniels, you want to get the ball out to your weapons. You don't want to have to be Superman. It's only week 2 of the season. You want to let all these other guys, take the hits and not necessarily use your legs too much, because the best thing a quarterback can do is stand in the pocket and sling the football. Week 1, Terry McLaurin only had about 2 catches. Deebo Samuels had the bulk of the receptions. He had about 7 catches for almost 80 yards. Obviously, I believe Terry McLaurin is an unselfish player, so he doesn't mind, seeing other guys eat. But this is a guy who's went over 1,000 yards in just about every year, I believe, in his career. And I don't think he wants any different in this year. He wants to win more than I'm sure he's worried about any stats. But he has to be more assertive and more included into the game plan. I don't believe that there is a coverage to take away certain receivers, and there's ways, especially in the 2025 NFL, to get these guys open. If they're struggling to get off press, you can always switch out the alignment, put them in motion. We see even teams like Miami use Tyreek Hill when he's on the field, at least. They use Tyreek Hill. They put him at tight end, just off the line of scrimmage, and motion them through the backfield. There are so many creative ways to get these guys the ball. So the Commanders didn't have any trouble with the Giants last week, but against the Green Bay Packers, I think they're going to have to be more creative and make sure they're getting their playmakers the ball and assert their run game. But Jaden Daniels is going to have to make a few Jaden Daniels-esque plays, and I do believe he can do that. It's going to be interesting to see how he stands up to the Green Bay Packers pass rush, and it should be a very interesting game. You know, this game is taking place in Green Bay, so this is the first road game for the Washington Commanders. It'll be interesting to see how they react being on the road, and it'll be interesting to see their secondary as well. You know, Green Bay has a few good receivers, and obviously they have their first round pick Matthew Golden in the mix as well. And I actually like the Washington Commanders secondary. You know, they have Marshawn Lattimore, who has been an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. You know, a lot of people think he's on the decline, but I believe he's poised for a bounce-back year. And they also have Mike Sainristil, still, Michigan product, and I believe he's going to be vital as well in the coverage schemes as well, chasing around these fast guys and just being sticky. I believe if the Commanders can not let Jordan Love throw bombs over their head and make him have to make throws all game long, eventually I think Jordan Love will do what he's been at least prone to do in his still early career, but that is turn the ball over. He is an aggressive gunslinger, and sometimes, you know, the ball's going to be going the other way when you're trying to fit it into those tight windows. You know, I appreciate his aggressiveness. There's nothing wrong with being a gunslinger. You know, you just have to be able to tame it and know when a play is dead and not try to force the issue, you know, because the worst thing you can do, especially as a quarterback, is make a bad play worse. And he's done that a few times in his career in some costly moments. And if they have any shot of representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year, he's going to have to limit his turnovers while also maintaining his aggressiveness and his gunslinging ability. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders to pull the upset in Green Bay. I think Jaden Daniels, he has to be very efficient and very effective, not take sacks that he can avoid at least, and obviously use those weapons. I see Terry McLaurin having a better game than he did last week, and I see more creative ways for them to use Deebo Samuel as well. They got him the ball in a lot of creative ways last week. I see that continuing. And I still think it's going to take some time for Green Bay's defense to come together. You know, Micah Parsons, while he sat out kind of all training camp, you know, with the back injury and obviously not wanting to play for the Cowboys. So I think it's going to take a couple of more weeks for him to get fully acclimated into this defense and for Green Bay to start to reach their peak. But as of right now, week 2, I'm going with the Washington Commanders to pull the upset. And you heard it here first.